Good afternoon. There we go. Okay. This slide is one of the posters out there. Let me walk through this real quickly. This talks about our work by the numbers, basically. You'll see on the top, you can't read it, you can read it on the posters outside, but the little puffy things in the middle there represent the 3 MPNs that we work with. That's where most of our funds come from. It funnels into that little beaker in the middle, which represents our research. And so far, funding from patients in the MPNs has amounted to $11 million in research, which resulted in 54 researchers being supported at 56 different projects at 32 different institutions. And again, it's all funded by patients in the MPN community, family and friends. This is also a poster that's out there. This is our impact statement. About a month ago, or about a year ago, our president came in and said, look, we've been in business for 15 years. I still have PV. What have we accomplished? And it took us a while to figure it out. But these are our top 12. This is going to be something in panels that are changed. I know it's difficult to read here. The poster outside is obviously a little bit easier. And this is our grant process. Obviously, our goal is to stimulate MPN research and open areas and accelerate treatments. Now, we've changed the process over the years. In the beginning, we started with smaller studies in diverse areas because not much was going on. A lot of it had to be done. And we didn't have a lot of money back then. We were just beginning in 2000. In 2005, a lot of that changed with the major focus on JAK2 preclinical studies when the JAK2 mutation was discovered. And that went through 2008. After 2008, we decided to look at newer investigators and bring them into the MPN field and started including a focus on the genome of MPN patients when they were mapping the human genome at that time. After that, we initiated originally what was called the MF Challenge, looking at myelofibrosis with the idea that even PV and ET patients are concerned about myelofibrosis, about converting to that. We've changed that in the last couple of years and opened it up to the MPN Challenge, but still with a specific focus on myelofibrosis and halting that progression to the disease. The process has evolved. It's become more rigorous. We have a more diverse group of researchers. We have a more diverse group of selection committee, that sort of thing. We use an interesting panel to review the proposals. And last week we had the MPN Roundtable, which brings in representatives from the pharmaceutical industry, academic researchers, patients, to talk about next process in MPN research. And we will be making decisions on what our program is going to look like next year, probably in the next couple of months. In January, February, we will issue what's called a request for proposals based on the conversations we had last week. And that's the MPN Roundtable. They fly in first week in November to the O'Hare Hilton in Chicago. Chicago is not the best place to go to in the middle of November because it's at the hotel at the airport. They don't even have to go outside. They fly in. They don't even need an overcoat if they're coming from warm weather. They love it. Thank you. The first roundtable was very positive. We got good reviews from both academics and industry participants. This was the first meeting that they had actually been in the same room talking to each other for any length of time about research. We understand that the pharmaceutical industry has sometimes aren't ready to share information. The comment is share what you can, but we want your ideas. We want your input. We know that they're part of the process to develop more research. This is the strategy going forward for the next couple of years, and reading it from the bottom up. Our goal over the next couple of years, primary goal, is to control your disease and halt progression, or like I like to say, well, I'll use progression in this case. Central to that is our MPN registry. We're going to be beginning that very soon. It'll certainly be up and running completely by the end of middle of 2017. Lindsay will talk about the timeline for that. And then The red circles are some of our longer-term projects. The registry is certainly going to be a longer-term permanent project. That won't go away. These are other initiatives or things that we're going to be focusing on. The one on your left is about interferon. Interferon is a drug that is used by many patients, but it's used, at least in the United States, off-label. It's not an approved drug, and we want to change that. But there's a lot of questions. We don't know how it works. We don't know why some people actually show a reversal of the disease. We don't know why it doesn't work for many people. So we're trying to figure that out, and that'll be the interferon initiative. The middle circle talks about our basic science, normal research, RFP, request for proposals. We have done things in the past to talk about CAR-T immunotherapy, CALR inhibition, and obviously the JAK2. Those will continue. Specifically what's going to happen, we're not sure. That'll come from discussions in the next couple of months, but stay tuned. Check our website. If you are registered on our system, we'll push that stuff out to you with an email blast when it's decided. The last project is going to be a little bit farther down, but again, it's focusing on progression and those markers that MPN patients show before they progress to a disease. That will come around a little bit longer, but certainly by the end of 2019, that project will be up and going. I don't know if there's another slide. That's it for that. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my...
There is a question by Fernanda.
I have one. You thought about the interferon and you want to study more. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the role of patient association in approval of a new drug? Like, you have some power, you have some voice in this process, or like you do this discovery and this search for the patients to be well informed?
Yeah, you're talking about approval process in the United States with
yes.
our FDA.
Yes.
We don't have as much power as we would like. We have people whom we can contact and work with, but if we get the research approved and if we get the data, we think we have a pretty good chance of getting it approved for MPN patients. At least that's the hope. And we have a lot of good researchers already on the interferon team. Dr. Mesa, Dr. Verstashek, and a few others that are looking at it too. So I think as a combined voice, we'll be able to get it done. That's the goal. Any other? Go ahead.
I would like to ask you if you can, in few words, describe what is the budget that you invest into research of MPN, and how do you choose the project that you want to support?
Right, yeah. I can talk about next year because it changes all the time. Depends on how much money I raise. Some of our funds this year are going to the registry and some of the other projects. We have $400,000 set aside for 4 projects going forward next year. We'll issue a request for proposals in January, February after we decide what we want to look at. Researchers from internationally will submit proposals, and those proposals are reviewed by a review committee, and they're narrowed down. We go from about 25 to 30, maybe 40 proposals to about 10 to 15, maybe 20, depends on how many we get and how good they are. In May, we have a committee come in, and each committee member, these are all researchers who have worked with us in the past or have served on the committee before and are on our science advisory board. They review 3 or 4 proposals that they're assigned, and then they come together and the whole committee discusses whether or not the proposals are worthy of our support. They rank them. And in this case, if we have 10 proposals that they're reviewing, the top 4 get funding. And it just depends on how much. In the years past, we've supported as many as 10 for $1 million. So, yeah.
Yes.
Where we can consult then the results of your research?
Our website has all of that information.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I think that's extremely important because that's the future of MPN patients. And now to complement your work on research, so I'm inviting Lindsay from the MPN Research Foundation in the US to talk about the registry that they are planning for MPN. And this is an opportunity, being an international, global MPN patient organization. This is exactly one of the roles that an international MPN patient organization can collaborate and organize a project on a scale that Lindsay will tell us. Please.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So one thing I wanted to add, I'm not sure if Bill mentioned it in the first slide that he went through. We've funded over $11 million in research over the past 10 years-ish? 15 years. So I just recently joined the organization, but it's a very impressive organization. I think it performs a vital role in the NPN community by vetting the research that's going on. One of the key questions that's answered at this NPN roundtable every year is, what are the unmet needs in research? And one of the things that came out of that was just to determine, how we can track patients over time. So that's where I kind of come in. In the spirit of the theme of this session, which is best practice sharing, just wanted to ask, of the people in the room, how many of you have like a nationalized health care in your country? Okay, and so if a few of you could share, is there a central registry for your countries, or are the patients tracked by individual practitioners?
Australia has just started to record. We've got a cancer registry.
I gather you're from Australia.
Yeah. How'd you guess? So we've got a cancer registry, but whether or not doctors are in fact referring people with MPNs onto that registry is another question.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a big country, so people on one coast aren't
26
necessarily...
million people, so yeah, we're not really capturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about another country? Anyone? Yes?
In Spain, it's totally centralized.
Oh, wonderful. Good to know.
When they have, you can go to another city, looks into him with his number, and he gets all your history on the computer.
Wonderful.
Sorry, did you hear me?
Yeah.
One more.
Yep. Finland also has a centralized system and a cancer register.
Okay, very good. And in Italy, what is it like in Italy?
We have not a registry for, we would like to build.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to speak here about this project. I think one of the key things that we would like to understand is how can we answer some of these questions based on the experience of other patients. And so if you could advance the slide, or do I do that? Yeah. Okay. Where am I pushing? Here we go. Okay. Sure.
I agree, Felice, there is not a registry of the disease, but there are registries of treatment, because they are the IFA registry, so at least patient on treatment, on any treatment in cancer treatment are followed.
But only patient on the treatment, then the other is not available.
Right. Okay, so the patients that receive a certain therapy are in a database somewhere being tracked.
But it's not public.
Right.
I don't use the registry.
Got it.
It's only for IFA.
Got it.
Italian.
Okay. Okay, so this graphic just shows a little bit about, what we can achieve through a patient registry. It sounds like the group is generally pretty familiar with the registry, but, one of the things that we can do is establish a community that crosses, borders. It also just helps people to not feel like they're alone out there. So when somebody has a diagnosis, they can go to the registry, they start putting a little bit of information into the system, and then what comes out as they put that information in is 75% of the patients who have recently entered data have said the same thing, that kind of thing. So it kind of, as you go through that process, gives you some validation that you're not alone in this. Just going around the circle, learn about disease prevalence and progression, that's pretty obvious. We will obviously be using the data that we collect through the system to drive our research goals. You know, I'll be doing some reporting at various meetings throughout the year, certainly at the roundtable and, you know, these meetings where we talk about our research strategy. You know, in theory, we can also be gathering some information about what works well and what doesn't work well for patients based on their own reporting, and that can be filtered on to the clinicians to help them to determine what is the best practice or standard of care. And then obviously, and perhaps most exciting is through the registry, we can identify patients that are eligible for trials as the treatments go to the FDA. And internationally, I guess. So this just talks a little bit about the project historically. One thing I did not mention is we're no longer calling it the registry. It now has a name called MyNPN. And we selected that name because we want patients to understand that this is for them to help them to change their prognosis. So it's a tool that can be used on an ongoing basis, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The project kind of got started a little bit in 2010. We put together a steering committee. You know, there's probably a lot of familiar names on here. Ruben Mesa, obviously, Claire Harrison. We've got a couple of statisticians on there. We also, based on some feedback that we got in our roundtable, we'll also be looking for someone who's just a bench researcher. We also went and talked to peers in other disease groups to talk about their registries, what worked for them and what didn't work for them. And we selected a platform from the Genetic Alliance, which is another nonprofit based in the US. And they have basically a back-end system that we've tailored to the needs of the NPN community. So this is actually a snapshot of what's on a poster outside, and I welcome the opportunity to talk to you individually afterward or at any point, now that I'm finally here. So, you know, we've got the familiar graphics. The right-hand side, it just talks about some of the questions we can answer through the system. You know, some things that I talked about, but also some therapy-specific questions like, you know, if I'm taking hydroxyurea or Jakafi or Pegasus, how is it working for others who have similar experiences to mine, whether it's similar numbers, similar, you know, presentation of symptoms, that kind of thing. So, you know, over time, as the data collects in the system, we should be able to compare and contrast what different people's experiences are with their treatment and their experience with the disease. Further kind of enforcing that notion of MyNPN. So the more information you put into it as a patient, the more we can use that information to help others who have NPNs like yours. This is on the left side, a still shot of a patient who's based in Pennsylvania who volunteered to be what's called a guide for the registry. So basically, she shared in a short video her experience with NPN and why she is supporting the registry. And we really appreciate the efforts of her and two other patients who are doing the same thing. So essentially, on the right-hand side, you have, you know, sort of the landing page for the registry. You would click on a button on the right side there where it says Start Now. I know it's hard to see here, but and that's where you would enter the system. And the first thing that you do in the system is customize the privacy controls. One of the reasons that we selected the Genetic Alliance platform is because it has a very customizable, very detailed privacy settings tool. And you essentially can say for specific pieces, for specific people in the research and industry community, what kind of information you're comfortable sharing with them, what you're not comfortable sharing with them, and what kind of information you want to be contacted about first before it's shared. So it's actually, you know, I think that it hopefully will allay some concerns or fears that patients may have when they consider putting, information about their personal experience with the disease in. This is just an overview of, what our goals are in the next couple of years. Obviously, the most important thing for me personally is to get some patients and their data into the system. Because without the data, it's really not very helpful. So 2016, we are loading surveys into the system. Right now we have 2. The first survey focuses basically basic demographics, who you are, where you're from, what your diagnosis is, how long you've had that diagnosis, and some very high-level information about what treatments you've had. And based on your responses to those questions, that will trigger new surveys to come into your homepage, and we'll invite you over time, right away or over time, to come back and fill in those additional surveys. The second survey that is like a primary survey in the system that we've got now is what I like to refer to as how do you feel today? And that how do you feel today basically covers, the basics. Are you having a lot of fatigue this week? Are you, the symptoms that you all talk about a lot, and, on a scale of 1 to 10, rating things. And, it gives you an opportunity to report anything that has changed recently, that kind of stuff, like if you've changed your meds or if you've changed your activity or your lifestyle, that kind of thing. And the idea is that patients can fill that survey out as often as they want. And that will be basically a tool to collect what we call natural history or, longitudinal data over time that, we can hopefully use to determine what are trigger points for, stages of the disease, things to transition, that kind of thing. So again, the more information we get into the system, the better off we are. Just looking forward in 2017, obviously, as Bill mentioned, we'll do the full launch of the system later in the next couple of months. We are going to be doing some beta testing where we have individual patients go in, kind of fill out those surveys, give us some feedback, make some tweaks to the system, that kind of thing. And we also need to get IRB approval, which basically means we put together a package that includes several different things, including, how we will provide access to the data, how we secure the data, obviously, and how we will collect the data, specifically our outreach plan. So, like how we will sort of market it, if you will. And in 2017 also, we're hoping to launch some additional features. The Genetic Alliance system is not currently mobile access ready, but it will be in the next year. And then in 2018 and 2019, we're hoping that they will also add electronic health records uploading capability and some additional languages. That's what I have for everyone today, and I welcome questions.